demo gonna be into two parts. The first part of the demo is just to go over the architecture of this project. If you can do that by yourself, then you can go to part two. Like we just need to understand how this is working. Now, what we want to do in part two, we will implement the JSP pages. Like they are not implemented, but we have everything for Java, but we don't have everything for the JSTL because this week is for JSTL. Therefore, the second part is going to be implementing the JSTL for two JSP pages. However, right now, as I said, we just need to understand how this project is working. Now, what this project is going to do, very simple. It's either going to display data for a particular user, like that means we have a file here. We have a file. Inside this file, I have different users. You either like display the data for a particular user, like for example, you say, I want to see data for A Smith. And if you want to see that like very quickly, let's see this here. And you want to see a data for a particular user, go to account, then username is Smith. And as you can see, like I can see data for a particular user because this is already implemented here. Like if you go to account, it's already being implemented. We just need to implement this part in the second part. Now, the second thing that we can do is to display a group of users. Now, a group of users, you should go to accounts here. You should go to accounts, not account with S. And here you will pass page number. For example, page number 1. That means I want to see people in page number 1, or let's say page number 5. Now, to know like what do we mean by page here, it's very simple. If you go to account servlet, you will see that I'm having something called page size equal 10. Okay, what does page size mean here? Page size equal 10, that means read this text file like 10 by 10. Like the page 1 is this one. Page 2 is, for example, starting from 20 up until 11, and this is page 2. And like if I change this, for example, let's say to 1, let's say like just change this to 1, that means the first page would be the first one. Okay, no, this one. This is the first page, and this is the second page, and etc. And as you can see, like I'm sending the page number. Like if I send, let's say page 1, that means the page 1, if the page size is equal to 1, that means I just need to read this thing. We are going to stick to 10 right now. Okay, and let's save it. We're gonna go like with 10 by 10. And if you need to know like what is this, here we have the username, and then I have the full name, like just imagine the first name or full name, something like that. And then I have the email, and then I have the password, and I have 0. Now you will see like most of them are zeros, but some of them they would have 1. 1 means is inactive account, and 0 means as an active account. That's all. Like this is the structure of this. However, we are not going to read that, or no. It's like there's Java code that read it, but we need to understand it. Okay. Now, what we should do right now, let's go to web.xml, always to understand any project. What is the welcome file list? It's accounts. That means the URL button for the welcome file is accounts. And now you can see, oh, I have accounts and I have account. Okay, wait a second. Are they using the same servlet? If we look here, they are using account servlet, which is like, this is the servlet. Oh my God. Did you see that? Like we have two URL patterns and both of them, they are using the same servlet. Is that okay? Indeed, yes, there's no problem as long as you can distinguish between them. And this is what we have right now. Let's see here. Like I have the browser. The browser is either going to go to account or to accounts, but at the end of the day, they're both going to use the same method, which is called doGet. Okay, it's very bad to highlight that. Okay, just say doGet. Okay, now the problem how this code is actually going to be distinguished between is it account or is it accounts. Now, if we go back to the here, you will like see that this is account with S and we are sending like a variable called page. Now, if I want to go with account, remember that I'm sending something like username Smith. Like this is the main difference. As you can see, like I can ask here, for example, the account. If I'm gonna make a call to account, I'm gonna say username equal, and then I'm gonna pass a username. If I'm gonna go account, if I'm gonna go to accounts, I'm gonna say page equal something like page, for example, equal 5, and here let's say I'm page equal Smith. Okay. This is the main difference between them. This one is actually using a username, and this one is not using a username. And this is what we are literally doing in the account servlet. What we are doing, we are getting the parameter. We are just asking the user. Sorry, not asking the user. We are asking the request. asking the request, do you have or do you contain uh, username parameter? And this is what we are doing here. We are just asking, do you have a username? If he said yes, that means we are looking for one user only. If he said no, that means we are going to return all users, or let's say not all users, let's say group of users, because it's based on pages like page 1, page 2, page 3, and etc. And based on that, I'm either going to go to display all users or display user info. Display user info for one user, and display all users is for like return a group of users. Okay, now this is very much everything what we want to do, but let's now see the code. Like let's say that I want to go to display all users. What I want to do in display all users, if we scroll down, this is the page, like the method. And what we are going to do, we are going to go to accounts to JSP. Okay, we are going to go to this page, which we need to implement this, by the way. However, if we look here, you will see something interesting. I need to set two things. I need to send the page, and it's very easy actually to get the page. Why? Because remember that if I want to make a request to accounts, I'm going to set the page. And here, what we are doing, we are getting the page. And let's say that we have any problem, the page by default, it's going to be one. Like if I'm not passing anything, if not passing anything, the page by default going to be one. And if you don't believe me, let's go here and let's say accounts. I'm not passing any variable, just enter. They say page is equal one. Why? Because they try to get this, like they try to get the integer. And here I'm passing nothing. And therefore, like they didn't do that because this is a try and catch. Yeah. And that means if you didn't pass anything, the page going to be one. If you pass anything, this page is going to be like a 4 or 5, let's say, for example, here like page equal 5, and now page is 5. Okay. Now what we want to do, this is like it's very easy to meet the requirement for the first or the second thing, which is passing the number of the current page number. But the problem is with accounts, where I need to read data from the database. That means here, as you can see, users on page number 5. Like this is, for example, I'm sending a request with a page 5. That means the servlet gonna go to the JSP, but the problem that we need values, and the values are users on page number 5. I need a list of them. Okay, how can I get this list? To get this list, we're gonna start from the servlet. The servlet gonna say, okay, I couldn't do that. I'm gonna ask the service. Let's see that here. They are doing this here. They are actually asking the service, can you help me with this? And this is my path, like the file path where the text is located. And what we are doing, we are just calling this method called get accounts. Okay, and based on the page number. Okay, let's go to get accounts, and this is get accounts. Now remember that get accounts is handling the business logic except the database. That means, okay, the service gonna say, I don't do that. I need help from database. And now the database will make a call for get active users. This is a method inside user DB. Let's go there. And this is get active. Remember, the active users are users who has 0 at the end. If they have 1, that means they are not active. It doesn't matter for us right now. What we are doing, okay, let's go back user database. We are reading this. Okay, and remember, this is very important. Anytime that we read the user from the database, we are creating a model. Okay, here we are like we create the model. Okay, create the model. Here we create the model every time. Like whenever we read something from the database, we get the data, we create the model of user, which is here. Like for example, if you go here, this is like the Java bean that I have. I'm creating this, and then what I'm doing, I'm adding this to list. Adding to list. Why I'm adding this to list? Like why I don't say like here return for example, return and that's all. No, I don't return because I need a list of users and I have this list of users here. Yeah, I have them like here. I have empty list, and then I'm trying to fill this list, and then I'm returning this users by the end. That means here, after I finish the database reading, I would like here the data gonna be reading a data. However, this time, as I said, we are not going to return one model. We're gonna return a list of models. Okay, and this would go back to like when we say return users, that's gonna take us to account service, which is we are here, and we are doing nothing with it. We just return it to the servlet. That means here I'm gonna say service gonna contain the list, and this list will be sent to the servlet. And now if we go to the servlet, you will see that the servlet take this and store it like using, like they are calling this here accounts. You can name it users, you can name it whatever you want. It's just a name. And we are sending that. We are sending the list of users to the accounts.jsp. Now, in the second part of this video, we will see like how we can actually create a table using this list of users, okay? And handling pagination as well. Okay. Now this is for the first request, and that means like here we met this, like we can able to get that. What about sending account, for example? Now without S, I'm just looking for a particular user. Remember that the servlet will do the following thing. First, we will go to the, okay, we will go to the if statement. We'll say, okay, do you have this? Do you contain this username parameter? And they say, let's say, yeah, we contain it. That means we're gonna go to display user information. Let's go there. And remember, the servlet want to go to the JSP, but the problem that we need data for this user called Smith. What should we do? And why do I have it like this? We haven't met that yet. Now we have a servlet, and this servlet, they are willing to help, but they couldn't. They will ask the service if they could. Now the service, account service, new account service, etc. I'm passing the path of the file, and that's all. And here I'm just making a request to get account. Like I'm using user service and then say get account. Let's go to get account. Here in the get account, remember I am handling business logic except database. All of this need database access. I'm asking the database, could you read that for me? This is get user. If you go to get user, this is the method that will read the user. We don't really care about how the logic is being done here, but what we are going to do is that data. We got the data. Now the database, remember, it's always important. When you find the user, like for example, here what we are doing, username, which is like I'm passing here, the username is asmith. I'm saying if asmith dot equals part 0, and if you are wondering like what is part 0, part 1, these are the part 0, part 1. Like part 0 is the username, part 1 is the name, part 2 is the email, part 3 is the password, okay? And now what we are doing here, if we are saying, like if the username, which is asmith, again, this is the username asmith, is equal to the part 0, like because we are going to read the whole file, if we find it, then what we should do? This is the most important thing. We just like create the database model. Now, why it's not a list? Why we are just creating? Because we are just need one user. Like we don't need to create a list of users. We just need one user. And by the way, this is like this one. Wait, this one. It was a list of models. Like, yeah, it's not one model. Here we just need to create one model, and then we're gonna return that to the service. Let's see what the service is gonna do with this model. Let's go here. And let's go back, like again, this is the database. We're going to go to the service. In the service, we're going to say, okay, wait a second. We are here in get account and we got the data. We do nothing with that. What we do is actually just returning the database to the, like that person. Like we just return this to the servlet. Okay. And now what we are doing, we are simply doing this here. The account servlet, we are waiting for our user. Remember, it's of the like the same type of the Java bean. Remember the Java bean inside the models here called user. It's here. And now what we are doing, we are setting the data. Simply like we are able to meet this. Okay, we are able to get the data for this user. And we say send it. And here account.jsp is already, I say it like partially implemented. You will see that here, if I go to account, you'll say that I'm using like here, I'm passing this as account. You can pass this as a user if you want, but I don't know like why they are using account here, but it doesn't matter. Well, they are passing account, and here they are saying, okay, account.name. That means remember that this is the user. User has username, name, email, password. You can print whatever you want. And inside the account, I'm passing the name, like I'm like passing the name, then username, then password, and then email. Still, we need to implement this. It's going to be in part 2. Let's just give it a try for the last time. Let's run it. Let's go to account. Let's a Smith, and here we go. This is how we got the data. Servlet, service, database, data, then database model, service model, servlet. And that's all. Okay. See you in part 2 to see how we can implement that, the GSTL things. Thank you.